Yeah, so like in Wisconsin, we could be classified almost as the epicenter of CWD, right? Like the most research, or all the states, when you go to these meetings, who do they go back to? They go to back to Wisconsin data.
Okay.
And now I will say, like, I have good buddies that hunt that's still with the hot zone, you could say, a CWD, and he's in that zone, and he's like, yeah, I'm definitely seeing it. But he's like, it's one of those things that it's usually happened when they're 5 to 8 years old. Well, all right, usually a deer gets hit by a car or they're getting killed before that.
Right.
So do I think it's a hoax? No, it's a real disease. It's just one of those things. Do I think it's as bad as like an EHD thing? Absolutely not. Not even close on that same principle.
All right, guys. Welcome to the Deer Shop Podcast, presented by Siman Brothers Outdoors and the Leaky John Boat Company.
Yeah. He went and watched a movie that has a $200 million production budget, and then the next thing he watched was our video on YouTube that has a $0 production budget.
This is the first buck I've shot in over 10 years.
Your track job was the first fun track job. That kind of like, I think part of my life was influenced by that night.
Then you miss him 3 times with a rifle at 70 yards on video for the whole world to see.
That's what Caleb did. 5 years ago, we couldn't shoot a deer at 100 yards with a slug gun. Now you're shooting turkeys at 100 yards with a shotgun.
Joey takes
The shop is closing up.
Make sure he takes all his right antlers. You can't leave anything.
All right, guys. Deer Shop Podcast, episode 141. We have one of our old buddies back on again, Zach Haas, EHDefense, Creek Bottom Land Management. He has been on our podcast. This is the third time I believe you've been on, Zach. He's not in studio with us today. He's doing a remote one. He can't actually see us. We had a little bit of technical difficulties. I can see him, and you, the YouTube audience, can see him as well, but he cannot see us as we're talking to him right now. So,
so he
might make it a little bit difficult, but we'll get through it. We'll get through it. Zach, your podcast we did last year on EHD and how to and using EHDefense and how to properly mitigate EHD and all the facts about it is actually our third most listened to podcast of all time. Just so you know.
Awesome.
So there is people that care about it, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, we appreciate it. But how you been?
Yeah, we got good, man. It's been busy though. It's trying to crank out all these plots before we just got finally our first rain in like a month. So we're working every single day from light up to pretty much sundown every single day, just trying to get something done. But yeah, I've been cranking, getting things ready, and the grind never stops.
No, we were talking pre-podcast how me and Isaac now both have our own places, and it has definitely taken away from the farm a little bit because not only are we taking care of our own larger chunks, but then we have the farm, but it does never stop. I mean, my project list is years long. There's things that I haven't got done from years ago that I still kind of want to do, but that's just all part of enjoying what we do, I guess,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I have a place in northern Wisconsin that I've been putting so much focus in my southern piece. So this year I'm overhauling my full property. So trying to overhaul my own property and all of my client properties, it's a lot right now. I
believe it. We haven't gone down to the Gore camp in Southern Ohio since last summer.
Yeah,
I don't know if I even went down there deer hunt with him. Gore went down and his dad had been down there, but I haven't been down there to help with plots. We haven't finished the cabin down there yet. We did get to West Virginia a few times to work on our farm down there a bit, and I kind of want to get back down again this summer. And like we said, it just keeps going and going and going. But that's the life we signed up for if you're into deer hunting and property management.
Yep. And we keep getting older and time keeps going faster.
Yeah, you ain't kidding on that. You are not kidding. For the audience who hasn't listened to any of the podcasts before, why don't you kind of give your rundown for them?
Yeah, so name's Zach Haas. So I own and operate Creek Bottom Land Management, based out of kind of east central Wisconsin. So I do the full food plotting, water holes, prairies, tree timber work, but then I also do a lot of consulting across the whole Midwest. And so I've been doing that now. This is my 11th year doing that work. But before that, I was aquatic biologist for 20 years. So doing professional pond and lake management on pretty much any size pond or lake you can think of. And in addition to that, I also brought out last year, we brought out EHDefense to start helping people actually combat EHD, especially for everyone in Ohio where you guys got slammed last year, absolutely terribly.
Destroyed.
So we've been really working on that, getting that on the train tracks, getting that going and educating people. So been wearing a lot of hats lately, and it's definitely showing, that's for sure.
So you mentioned that, how it got slammed and everyone tuned in last year to listen to your podcast on EHD. Our one farm that we were just talking about, the Gore Farm in Southern Ohio, it's in Washington County. It's on the river, and they themselves only found a few dead deer. The area, the areas around them, especially farther from the river, if you get upland into the hills and where the Muskingum doesn't actually flow through, those people are the ones that were, the whole hollers were smelling like dead deer, and it was absolutely brutal. But their farm did okay for the most part. Buck numbers were definitely down a little bit, I believe. But ironically, Chris was able to kill his biggest deer ever. He killed 147.5-inch 8-point. So the big ones, the big one survived, and he actually won the title for our little group, our deer shop here. He killed the biggest buck last year out of any of us in the heart of EHD land, which is ironic,
Oh, right. And honestly, the positive on it, like Lee Likoski talks about it, but he's killed his biggest deer usually after EHD years because there's no social stress. So probably gonna have some better deer these next couple of years just because of reduction a little bit of the herd numbers.
Which that is kind of exciting. They had a pretty good amount of deer down there, and they've always had a lot of bucks in that like 140 to 150-ish range. 2 or 3 mature bucks a year using their 100 acres, and we haven't had our cameras have been dead down there since right before turkey season. So we haven't seen what it looks like this summer yet. But we're gonna get down there and try and get those cameras rolling, and just so we can kind of start.
Yeah, at least like right now is the boring time though. It's like deer are like up to their G2s, and it's like it's not fun yet.
Well, I'm obsessed with turkey hunting, but the moment turkey hunting ends, like once it's about the 3rd week, we can hunt up until June 1st in Pennsylvania here right next door. So you can hunt pretty late in our area.
Oh yeah.
But about 2nd or 3rd week of May, it starts getting warmer. We're kind of over the turkey hunting. It's like that switch flips in my brain where like, I don't care about gobblers at all anymore. All of a sudden the gobblers, I just stop caring about them, and you're caring about deer. But like you said, it's very hard to tell what you have. We got bucks on the farm every day now, and they all look exactly the same. They got brow tines, and they're branched out, starting some G2s. We have a couple. There are some deer around in our area that we have on camera already. How many points does the one have already?
Yeah, it's looking good.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We already have one that's got 9 squirrel tines. So
back to EHD.
Yeah, I'm giving away too much information.
I have a quick question about EHD because that we hunt, our friends hunt a area that was really hit last year, and they say the rebound is usually pretty good when it comes to deer. What is the prevalence of it happening again in the same area? So those midges that had the EHD that spread to the deer, do they come back at the same area? Did they all get killed off? Is it all just chance where it pops up? How does that happen from year to year to year?
Yeah, so like the actual eggs themselves, they are dormant within the mud. So like any midge that laid eggs last year, they went dormant in the mud. What you guys, I will say, the positive thing that happened though is you guys had those deep freezes late in the year.
Got cold,
and so that killed a lot of and destroyed a lot of those eggs. So that's going to help is having that cold snap. Essentially, that we got that frost line way down low that killed a lot of. But let's say if you hadn't had that deep freeze, all those eggs are just laying dormant for another year essentially.
So expect that to happen again.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know how it is in some of these regions. Like, it all depends on your springs, right? So, like, I don't know if you guys have been above average with rainfall or not. But if you had, like, last year where you guys had above average rainfall really all the way through, like, June, and then it shut off, that's when it's really bad because of all those little ruts and all that stuff are holding water. You have worse issues. Whereas as long as it's been moderate and normal, I guess you could say, it shouldn't be as bad this year. Plus, you have less deer, so you don't have as much of an issue of these deer congregating. Like I always kind of think of like in Lion King when all the animals go around the one watering hole.
Yep.
And same kind of philosophy is we don't have that this year because there's not as many deer. So even though there's some dormancy there, I guess personally I don't see it being as bad in the areas that really got slammed last year. Now, not saying it can't move to other parts of the states.
Yeah.
But I don't foresee it being as bad.
So we could have pop-ups in other regions. So if we didn't get hit last year, there's a possibility we could get hit this year.
Right.
Now, some of the podcasts I've talked to recently about this whole the CWD thing's been popping up, and they bring up EHD at the same time with them. How much herd immunity can our deer get that have survived through those EHD years? Is there any chance that the Ohio and these northern deer are ever going to have immunity like the southern ones do? Because from what I understand, There's the
They
southern
definitely
deer just have a
will.
lot more. They're exposed to it all the time because there's a lot more mud and midges and stuff down there, so they do
So
better
like for
with
example, like Southwest Iowa got hit back in 2012 really bad.
Yeah.
Kind of like you guys just did.
Yep.
And I actually think they're kind of over the bell curve already, where their deer are starting to get a little more resilient on it. So yeah, you're talking over a decade that took, but I can already see that those deer are building it up. So it's just a matter of keep having that fawn recruitment just to keep building that resilience up. That obviously that little bit of getting some antibodies or whatever it might be that actually helps them with the immunities there. But with that said, I do think that as time goes on here, you're going to see those areas hit the hardest. We'll get to that point where we'll get past that bell curve and not have as big of an issue. It's just we got to cater to our deer to get them past that point.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like it has to be bad before it can be really good again. Which
Absolutely.
our area has not. Up here to the northern side of the state where we're living, we have not been hit with EHD that bad. There was a couple small pockets of it 2 years ago, but nothing that was more than a couple townships, even just like less than a couple 10,000-15,000 acre areas basically around certain lakes. So we have a surplus of deer. I mean, I'm still seeing fawns, or I'm still seeing does that are pregnant right now that haven't given birth yet, which tells me that they weren't bred until at this point. It's the gestation period. There's does that weren't bred until into December and January. So we just
honestly, it makes sense if you have bad EHD year because you think you just lost your buck surplus. So those does are going through repeated cycles. Like we have actually the same issue, not because of EHD, but in northern Wisconsin, because there was buck only for so long that our buck surplus sucks. So like I've seen 3 breeding cycles in northern Wisconsin. So yeah, we will have late fawns up there, which sucks because then your fawn recruitment is terrible because coyotes are able to pick them off one by one. So just getting those numbers back in line where, it sounds weird with EHD country, but making sure to keep that balance so you get the right amount of breeding going on and actually fawn recruitment, shrink that fawn recruitment down.
Yeah. And we're going to be diving into some multiple topics here when I bring this up, but it's fine. We're allowed. There's no rules. We talked about it on a few recent podcasts that we're not having enough people kill does anymore. Like, and it's because it's a 2-prong approach. People aren't eating as much deer, partially because how expensive it is to process them. So because of all those things, a lot of hunters, and especially the new onset hunters that are just getting into deer hunting, they're only trying to kill their buck. They want to kill their buck. They want to get a buck for their son. They want to get a buck for their dad. They want to get a buck for their buddy. So the doe population just is insane by us. It's insane.
Yes,
there's so many does.
Simply just because these new hunters don't want to pay $250 for a bunch of meat that the family's not going to eat.
Right.
Because they don't know
they don't,
or they're not accustomed to it, or it's just not a tradition.
And if you're not someone who's a good chef or into wild game cooking, or you weren't raised on venison,
it can be ruined real quick.
To eat 80 pounds of venison that you shot, it's like it takes a while to go through all that, and then the next season comes, and guess what? We're still half full. I still got 40 pounds of venison in my freezer, so I don't need to go out and kill a bunch of does. Mm-hmm. They've made it expensive to donate. There's not a lot of places where you can donate it for the needy. That program is getting better a little bit, but it's not always feasible. The drop-off times are kind of awkward, so you shoot a doe, you can't drop it off till the next morning, but you got to go to work, and it's warm out, and all those things have contributed to just a giant surplus of does. So I do worry in our exact area here, if EHD becomes a thing, or we do have a year where EHD is very prevalent, we're going to lose a lot of deer just because it's so congregated.
Well, that kind of leads to my next question before you get, I see you have some questions.
Yeah, I was going to let Zach talk about his own hunting season. I told him I wouldn't hound him with EHD right off the rip.
I have another EHD.
But here we go.
So long-term EHD, has it been around for a long time? Or is this kind of a newer age?
No, so the very first case was found in 1955 in New Jersey. So
that relatively new, yeah.
Yeah, so first recorded case, right? How long? It's kind of like CWD. How long was it here before then? It's just that obviously over time things have gotten worse with agriculture practice and all this kind of stuff that has changed the landscape of it, that has made it worse. But I would say it's become a big issue probably in the last decade or two.
Okay.
So
and what
really,
is the
relatively it's newer.
Yeah. What is the research when it comes to 5-10 years later? Like, how does the deer herd recover from that? I know you said some places the hunting actually gets better. So if we get a wave of EHD and it wipes out our deer herd, Is that just something we kind of have to weather and it will get better, or will it continue to get worse, or how does that?
Yeah, I mean, the herd will rebound. It just depends on zones. Like I said, like Iowa's probably the best one, like case. If you want to put like an actual case study out there, it'd be Iowa. It took them a long time to rebuild it. I mean, it took them a full decade to rebuild their herd. And I will say the numbers still aren't where they're at. But those spots that I know got hit, like there's a spot in Southwest Iowa I hunt. I will say their deer that they've been shooting though have been bigger. So like the spot I used to hunt, and actually still hunt occasionally every 6 years when I get a bow tag down there.
Right.
Yeah, which is bullshit. But that's like we were seeing good bucks back then when there was a surplus of deer. I mean, 40s, 50s, 60s deer. Well, now they got hit. Their herd's rebounding. Now my good buddy, he won the 21 best bull buck, not typical, at 231.
Phew.
So like they're seeing bigger deer.
Yeah.
Because their social stress isn't what it used to be. It's once again, it goes back to this buck to doe ratio. You get such a bad social stress, the bucks aren't as big, more disease sets in, other than even EHD, other diseases set in. So I think it's one of those things you'll see a rebound in these spots. It takes a little bit of time. I wish the does were actually able to pass on immunity to their fawns. They only do it through colostrum when they're drinking all the milk. That's the only period that they're actually immune from that doe. But it's one of those things. You'll see the rebound, but I think our deer herd in general is going to get better, especially because the point you brought up with people not killing as many does and all that stuff. Unfortunately, it's in a way Mother Nature balancing out this carrying capacity a little bit too.
Yeah.
And the biology side of it would push that, right? But it still sucks to see. I mean, no matter what, just because usually it's our big bucks that typically get hit by it.
And it's the shock factor. You go in your back 40 and you find 20 deer. That's huge.
Yeah, like I was down in Caldwell, Ohio last year. And that farm, I think, had 80 dead deer when I showed up. And then I was talking to him, and he's like, well, we had a decent amount of survivors. The herd looked good, so they did a big thermal drone survey on their property. And he goes, the numbers seem decent. I'm like, well, it's good. Now stay with it. Like, don't let that surplus get out of control now.
Right.
Like, I hate to say it, Mother Nature kind of gave you a favor by knocking down your does, but stay on top of it. Now, don't let it get to that point where you're like overrun and holy shit, there's too many deer. Don't let it happen again.
Right. I remember the Iowa one because that was Bill Winke, Midwest Whitetail. He went from he was killing these giant 200-inch bucks every single year, and then the EHD hit, and he was just happy to kill a 130-inch buck with his bow for a couple of years there, and he wasn't. Right. I enjoyed that he was a big celebrity that wasn't afraid to do that too. There's a lot of guys that won't. They won't downgrade themselves to shooting 130-inch bucks, but Bill didn't have a care in the world. He's still shooting as long as they were mature. He was doing it. It's a good time to pivot. If you saw, we talked a little bit pre-podcast, you saw that our last guest, we talked a lot about CWD and how the government has been pushing this thing. And I know we talked about CWD in our podcast a couple times, but with all this new information that, the government is potentially paying game agencies and or influencers to push the CWD narrative, do you think that's kind of a hoax? What's your thoughts on the whole CWD is still the one that the government cares the most about for some reason? What's your take on that?
Yeah, so like in Wisconsin, we could be classified almost as the epicenter of CWD, right? Like the most research, or all the states, when you go to these meetings, who do they go back to? They go back to Wisconsin data. Okay. And now I will say, like, I have good buddies that hunt that's still with the hot zone, you could say, is CWD. And like the one guy I deal with, and probably the biggest serial buck killer I know, like the guy's shot so many awesome 150 pluses, booners, 200-inch, and he's in that zone, and he's like, yeah, I'm definitely seeing it. But he's like, it's one of those things that it's usually happen when they're 5 to 8 years old. Well, all right, usually a deer gets hit by a car or they're getting killed before that.
Right.
So do I think it's a hoax? No, it's a real disease. It's just one of those things. Do I think it's as bad as like an EHD thing? Absolutely not. Not even close on that same principle. And so to me, it's just one of those things that it happens. It's just like other diseases that aren't talked about in the whitetail world.
Right.
It takes some deer. It does. All right. Let's get past that. But also what I think the thing that pisses me off the most is the whole non-hunting season, like use of mineral and all that. And the fact that we're trying to pinpoint it on mineral use, that's what's spreading CWD. Well, if that's the case, you better ban scrape branches, licking sticks, deer licking each other, overhanging branches. That to me is bullshit.
Right.
hands down. So like, because all nutritional, like veterinary side of it, livestock would say that you should be giving animals prebiotics, probiotics, minerals, all this stuff to fight disease.
Right.
So that part of it, I don't get that part at all. Why the government's so like, well, we don't want to do things good for the deer because at the end of the day, they just want them to die. So I don't know why we're not pushing more of that, deal of let's get our deer healthier so we can fight disease rather than like Minnesota's did that whole sniping deal where they just killed a bunch of deer
Yeah.
because they thought that'd protect the herd. No, that's not going to protect shit. We need to actually help to look at the health of the animals. Okay, what can we do actually to fix this? So hoax, I would say no. Would I'd say it's way past what it should be? Yeah, like when you think like state of Wisconsin, I think it's like $20 million gets funded into the program. Well, it's never going to go away now because all the jobs that were created through that funding,
Right.
all this stuff. So now you have this vicious money machine that literally is keeping it worse than it is. So is it a problem? Yes. Is it as bad as they think? Absolutely not. Not like EHD.
Right.
Not where I see complete herd wipeouts. Okay, one deer got CWD and died. Well, he was 8 years old. Guess what? He actually lucked out by probably about 5 years of living. So
Because correct me if I'm wrong. In Michigan, if they had a deer that tests positive, they would go into that area and try to kill all the deer, right? So they could
Michigan,
minimize it somehow.
We had that in Wisconsin for a little bit. Minnesota's going through it right now. That makes no sense to me.
We have a CWD zone here in Ohio where like there's an early rifle season and you can hunt during velvet and like
You can use a 30-06.
yeah, there's
August.
like there's all kinds of weird rules for the CWD zone, but you still can only kill one buck in the state. And I don't know if you listened. Did you listen to the Ted Nugent on Hunter podcast? It was wild because it was Ted Nugent, right? So like I had to listen. And he brought up a great point. There's areas where the government is, saying you can only, especially where we're sitting right here in Ohio, we can only kill 3 deer in this county, but I can watch 50 on my farm every night. That's just ones I see in my fields. So there's areas in Wisconsin, Michigan and Ohio, and I know it happens here in Ohio by us, where the government is killing these deer with snipers at night, hundreds of them, but they won't let hunters kill more.
Yeah, just give out more time.
That's something that I've had a real hard problem with lately. We got these areas where maybe disease is popping up because the deer are overpopulated and they're not allowing hunters to kill more of them though. They're still making it tighter restrictions.
Like case in point, like I have a buddy in Illinois and his parents own property by a wildlife refuge and no one's able to hunt it whatsoever. There's deer all over but yet they'll bring in people with snipers.
Right.
Giant corn piles.
Yep.
And then they're killing all these deer. I'm like, well, why wouldn't you do like a lottery system where people could actually bow hunt, gun hunt it, actually take the deer ethically, use the animal? No, you're just going and killing them and getting rid of them. And you know what those snipers are doing? They're looking for the biggest buck and taking it out.
Mm-hmm.
But
right.
It makes no sense. Yeah, why we're not leveraging the actual community to be like, hey, let's do this. Or, if you want to get more does, maybe actually help and push some kind of, I don't know, program or people get a little kickback or something, or hey, 50% off your tag if you get a doe. I don't know what it would be, but yeah, it doesn't make sense why the government thinks they can do the controlling of it when there's enough hunters to do that control.
And it's also strange, like, this podcast alley we went down last week with Steven Ziegler, Rack Junkies, he got popular because a lot of people, when it comes to local, national government and stuff, are really, really keyed in now on corruption and where our money is being spent on a national level. For even a guy drinking coffee right now at a barbershop, he cares about where the money's being spent, So looking at it from a deer hunting perspective, Steven's big point was, like you said, $20 million in Wisconsin for CWD that doesn't even kill any deer. Why don't we take that, if that money's being spent, that money is going to be spent on wildlife, why don't we spend that money on fixing EHD areas or educating people on EHD, or $20 million for a food service program where you can just bring your deer, get extra tags to kill does, drop your deer off at any time, make food for the homeless and the needy and the prisoners and the Section 8 and all the things.
Hunter access, hunter education, all that stuff.
Right.
But $20 million
Absolutely.
And $19.9 million is going to salaries of people that work for these.
But guess what? They can keep their jobs. The $20 million, all the jobs that it created in that biology field or disease field or whatever the positions are that it created, they can keep their jobs. They just have them have them shift from CWD recognition and monitoring and testing to something else. Just evolve them a little bit, spend the money somewhere where the hunters can see it.
And his big thing is most of that salary goes to administrative side and not boots on the ground side, which
the administrators have no hunting background.
Yeah.
Right. Well, in a way, it's even sad, like watching kind of the downfall of the National Deer Association. Same thing.
Yep.
They used to be such big advocates, but suddenly they're so CWD happy, and you're like, what kind of money's going that way? That something that used to be great for us is now kind of against us.
I would read the articles every month that the QDMA would put out, like their blog articles every month on the QDMA website. I would log in and actually read a physical website.
And we have posters hanging in the
I was going to bring, we have a bunch of posters over there that I wanted to bank with, these 42-inch posters on deer aging and just all the different things. They were a great organization. The banquets were cool because you would win for landowners and people that like to manage stuff. Like you go to those banquets and you'd win like 100 pounds worth of salt, mineral, and trail cameras and all this stuff. Yeah, chainsaws. Like you could win cool stuff to help you manage the property. And then QDMA disappeared. NDA. I don't even know what the website looks like anymore. Like he said, they have a podcast that they spend $5 million a year on that no one listens to. Like all this stuff that just doesn't quite make any sense,
Right.
And it sucks because there isn't a group for us to really follow that's great anymore.
No, there isn't. I mean, because even like Whitetails Unlimited, the same thing. It's depends on the branch you're at, of how good they are. But there's nothing for us to funnel our money to. And I think Hunter talked about that too on one of their podcasts.
Yeah.
But it's like there's no group that advocates. I mean, Hunter Nation a little bit. They help.
That's the one that Steven.
Yeah, that's one Steven likes. That's one Ted Nugent's like one of the board members of.
So like at least they're kind of at forefront actually doing stuff where they're going to the meetings, they're going to these hearings, all that stuff, talking. Like they're still pretty powerful. But we've kind of lost that voice in a way. So it's just us trying to do our own education. Because like even the EHD side of it, like the amount of people have come up to me like, well, if your product's so good at EHDefense, why isn't the government picking this up? Well, because they don't want to, or they don't want to funnel money to it. I mean, I've tried to reach out to Ohio Division of Wildlife, Ohio DNR, no responses.
Yeah.
I just wanted to talk to their biologist. I just wanted to have a frankly one-on-one with them and nothing.
I was disappointed when you texted me about you were down at the Open Seasons Expo and you were doing you were going to do a seminar on EHD and no one attended. But it's unfortunate because we used to go down to that show every single year and have a blast, but it has just changed. That the show itself is just not that good. And I don't want to bash what they're trying to do. And there are a few booths that I would enjoy stopping by, but overall, beef jerky, outfitter, Canada.
Canada
I mean, seriously,
Canada Blackbeard.
And then there's these companies I've never heard of selling a blind, but it's costing more than a redneck. And it's like there was no benefit to us going down to that show. I wish you would have been doing your seminar a couple of years ago when we used to always go down, because I'd definitely grab a couple beers and some food and sit there on it. It's not that unfortunately that show's just not that way anymore.
It's back when it was big. Heartland Bowhunter was
first
there.
Day, it was pretty depressing that first day of my Friday. I'm like sitting there getting ready for my EHD talk seminar. I'm thinking like, this is probably the talk everyone here should be at.
Right.
And I had one guy on Friday show up a half hour into my slot, and I'm like, wow. Well, that tells me you guys don't care about your herd whatsoever. Got it. Like,
they used to have, that's where the Buckeye Big Buck Club did their display a deer every year. You could go get your buck scored and put on the wall on there. And there used to be hundreds of deer at that show on the wall.
There was not many deer at all.
Yeah, and
down there.
A lot of that is because of and I don't know if it's that way out by you guys in Wisconsin, but the explosion of Buckmasters and their scoring system, people got pissed about the deduction, so that a lot of people stopped sending their deer in for traditional scoring via Pope and Young, Boone and Crockett, Buckeye Big Buck Club, whatever anyone that does net scoring, they've a lot of people have got away from that, and Buckmasters has stole that crowd, so people just aren't entering their deer in those traditional type contests anymore.
Yeah, luckily, like our state's big show, like we have the open season expo up here too, and that show's been awesome.
Is that the Wisconsin Dells one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that one's like the heyday of shows, like where people are shoulder to shoulder, people are spilling their beers on kids in front of them. It's like the glory days. The glory days of trade shows up here. So it's hard. Like when I go to, like when we went to Ohio, we went to Iowa Deer Classic. Iowa Deer Classic's not what it used to be either. That used to be like the show to go to.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And that one's been dying. Yeah, we went to ATA, which was hit or miss. I mean, the
Were
whole
you went
like
you went to
bringing-
Indianapolis for the ATA?
Yep.
We
Yeah.
go-
So this year was their first year. They had the consumer side too.
Yes. Yep.
And you could tell there was a lot of people like that finally could come to it. So I think they were expecting like the big ATA, like, well, this is why everyone goes here. But
Hey, there's Mark
it wasn't
Drury.
there. Yeah, there was like no celebrities there.
Yeah, and that's a show like ATA was attractive to the public because maybe you could run into Hannah Barron and Mark Drury and Josh Bomar. Yep. I do like. Did you have a good time in Indianapolis? Though, have you ever spent time in Indy?
I've never spent like a prolonged time there. I mean, just pretty much conferences or shows, but it's a good area to be in. All that just, like I said, I wish the show would kind of get a kickback and get back to what it used to be. But I think it's a lot of these big names in the industry actually going back to these again. But none of them go to any shows anymore.
Yeah, we might go to it next year if it's in Indy again because we go to a fire conference every year in Indy and we've learned to really enjoy that town. So I might
we'll be there.
I might look into going next year if possible. Do you know what time frame it'll be roughly?
I think it's like the first weekend in January, usually.
That's a good time, actually.
Yeah, we got nothing to do besides fill our tags that we haven't filled yet.
Yeah, right. For real.
But we'll be there. Swing on the booth.
It's funny. You mentioned that no one cares about we haven't been able to get the hunters to buy into fixing their water, but we talked earlier in the podcast, me and Isaac now got our new properties. I have a lake and we're going to get into, I'm going to ask you some questions about maintaining my pond at my own private property. But I've noticed in those worlds, so I've started joining a couple groups, like lake management type stuff, people that own ponds and stuff want to keep them nice. Those people do spend the money and get involved in fixing their water. And you would think there'd be some more crossover. Like a guy like me that has ponds and cares about the deer, you'd think, we started treating our watering holes here with EHDefense, but there's people spending a lot of money on their private ponds. Why can't we get the hunters to see that, to start spending it on their deer holes,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like you want to talk about a dedicated community. The people that own ponds and lakes, that is one of the most dedicated communities there is.
And it's an investment, right? If you're going to dig a pond these days, it's, 15 grand, so you're going to spend money on it. You're going to keep up with it kind of thing.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, there's little to no crossover. Like I have clients that have some ponds and stuff that way. And those guys, obviously I've trained to understand you got to take care of this stuff. But I mean, when I was doing pond and lake management, I think just me personally out of our group of biologists, I think I had just a running tally of like 250 clients. And I mean, that was like people on average, I bet you each property had, on average, I had probably 3 ponds in a site. So, I was managing per year 750 water holes or, sites with water. And people will put anything to fix their water, their fishery, whatever it might be. Oh yeah, those people are dedicated. It's just trying to educate the hunters and be like, it's way more important than you guys think. And I get so many of these guys like, you don't believe that snake oil, do you? It's like, well, I did it for 20 years, seen the work, seen the efforts, seen all the research. Yep, I do believe this. So,
and I think deer hunters and habitat managers, we have just been pushed so far down the food, cover. Guys that go out and spend $1,000 a year on their food plots. We've talked about this on every podcast we've had you on. They'll spend all this money on their food plots, buy the minerals, spend $5,000 on corn and dump it on the ground. And rent a skid steer and create all this cover and switch grass and hinge cut, but they won't spend any money on their water. It's just for some reason we can't get over that hump for guys to start spending money on their water for their deer.
No.
And they drink it every day.
Been tough. Right. And that's the thing. I was on the Whitetail podcast talking to Jake on that, and one thing I always love is they try to push it down our throats of deer get all their water from the plants they eat. Okay, that's fine and dandy right now when things are green, but show me what plants have water moisture in October.
Right.
And
that's why this happens right in August, September, early October, this EHD. It happens because all of a sudden everything is dry. All you got is mass crops and whatever you plant in your food plots, which are dry, and then this stagnant water, Corn's hardening, soybeans are hardening, the leaves are coming off.
Yep.
It dries up real quick. And how much water do they actually get from from eating plants anyways? Even in July, like the average deer?
I can't see much because they're alleged, the science says a deer needs about 4 to 6 quarts a day of water.
Yeah, they're not getting that from plants.
Well, no, that's like, I was talking to Jake with that. I'm like, all right, give me a bunch of soybeans and we'll compress them and we'll measure that moisture level. And let's just say it's, I don't know, 20 feet by 3 foot tall of soybeans. I don't think you barely get that.
Right.
It's one of those things that
and the deer aren't standing still. They're browsing their way through. They're not even mowing down an area.
Right. No, and that's why I love it. Like me, almost every water hole I have is in food plots and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's what I bow hunt. And to me, it's the cheat code of bow hunting. When you see how powerful water is, you realize you were missing out.
Well, I killed my 146 this year 9 steps after he got done drinking out of our water hole. So I'm not gonna argue with you whatsoever on
Proof
that.
is in the pudding.
I mean, we have set up that spot on the farm. We killed 2 gobblers there this year in that same exact stand where I shot my buck. We ended up killing 2 gobblers.
2 bucks.
Isaac killed his buck from that stand. I mean, we have all this land to hunt on the whole farm, and we killed 2 bucks and 2 gobblers from the same exact spot because it works so well with how we've set it up.
Right. Even with toms and turkeys and stuff like that too. People don't realize how much water a hen turkey needs to actually have a good hatch of eggs. If anyone that's ever owned chickens realize how much good clean water you need for them to actually produce good eggs. You need a lot of water for birds too. I mean, I've killed multiple toms sitting behind a water hole, waiting for the hens to come drink and shoot the tom when he comes strutting into it.
I think we talked about it in the one turkey hunting podcast. I can't remember. I'd have to think too hard and long to really go through it, but I think we've killed like 7 gobblers from that spot. So obviously the proof's in the pudding,
Yep.
And so these turkey nesting, are they nesting near the water because of the dense vegetation and all that? Or are they nesting near the water because of the easy access to the water?
So a lot of times it's not that they're nesting near it, but they're drinking. They need to drink that water because that shell, to create a good actually eggshell of a turkey, they need a massive amount of water. And if they're not getting it, you're going to have actually a more brittle shell and all that. So if they're not getting that, you're not going to have a good actual, I forgot what they always call a group of eggs is, but with that said,
a clutch and
there you go, clutch
that produces a brood.
Yeah.
So if you don't have water, you won't have it. Same with like I said, it's just with poultry. If you don't have the water, you actually won't see as many eggs when you go collect eggs from your chickens. Same thing goes for turkeys. So they'll go and drink that every single day and pound town water, and then they'll go up to a nearby prairie or thicket or wherever it may be and nest. And then when those poults hatch, well, they need water too, so they'll go down to it. So it helps all wildlife. I mean, it's so holistic of a management approach. It's not where whitetail stuff. It's usually only benefiting whitetail, whereas water is benefiting everything on the property.
Right. And we're still getting turkeys every single day now in that corner, entering in by that watering hole. So, with this new property that I purchased, it came with I bought a tractor and the whole setup, and it came with a backhoe attachment for the tractor. How beneficial would it be for me to go through every early summer like it is right now and get all the leaves out of these watering holes?
Oh, super beneficial.
That's not going to be a waste of time because that's something I really want to do, not only for the aesthetics of it, but they do fill up with leaves. Because I build all my watering holes in the timber, so they do fill up with leaves pretty quickly.
Yep.
And I now have the ability to get them out. So
if you can keep them clean and keep that sludge from forming, that's it. That's the name of the game with ponds. Because otherwise, when it's left alone and those leaves start decaying and all that, that adds to the muck, that adds to the mud flats, that adds to the EHD. So the more you can clean them, the better. So even for myself, I go every fall to my ponds and I leaf rake out my leaves.
Okay.
Not that I'm getting all of them out,
right?
But same with my earth ponds or my water tubs, whatever I have on properties, I'm raking all the crap out.
Okay.
Even I have one pond I put in last year. It's in the timber. It's actually in a big box elder stand. So there's a shit ton of leaves. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go and actually might be doing tomorrow is I'm taking that whole tub out. I'm going to bring it back to the farm, pressure wash the whole damn thing. And I'm going to put it right back in with fresh water.
Well, I've noticed, this is just a natural thing that happens. We built all these water holes in the first year, they look like clay, mud, construction debris. It's just, they're not that pretty. But then there's 2 years where everything settles and the grass grows right up to the edge and they're deep and they're great looking and damn, you could put fish in this thing almost, And then year 3, 4, 5, the edges are full of leaves and sticks and they start to get stagnant. That's where a lot of our holes are. And I want, one of the things that's on my to-do list at the very top here soon is to get on the tractor and just dredge the sides, and clean all that stuff up.
Yep.
Plus they start to get a little bit more shallow too,
Even when I was building bigger ponds, I was building fishing ponds, swimming ponds, you name it. It takes a pond about 3 years, 3-ish years to figure out it's a pond. So year one, it's just water.
Yeah.
There's nothing going on. Year two, it kind of settles itself out, starts looking, like you said, it looks great. Then you'll start seeing the growth cycle start happening, and that pond starts aging because it's finally figured out it's a pond, and now it's going to start aging, which is called eutrophication. But I saw this all the time with line ponds and clay line ponds, whatever it might be, where the first few years, the client's like, I don't need pond management. It looks great. I'm like, you will need pond management.
Right.
So let's get started on it now before that happens. So I had a lot of people that jumped on right away. We started taking care of it, doing bacteria, enzymes, pond colorants, all this stuff. And then I had the ones that would call me 5 years down the road and be like, the pond looks like shit.
Yeah.
Like, well, I told you. But it's one of those things, any of those ponds, if you can clean them out, the better. Like, you get a dry spell. Like, I have actually right now, we've had this massive dry spell. I went in and put one of my ponds. We had a massive rain in April that rushed a bunch of my sand, and I'm raking it back up. I'm cleaning it up. I actually had it almost dry. So I was getting all the debris up, the muck out. I was getting that pond restored to what it was.
Yeah. If it is perfect segue right here. So let's say you're the guy that has a new farm, or you want to start doing some water holes, and it's still early summer, spring, late spring. What can we do what can these guys do right now to start preventing EHD in the future?
So to me, for one, if you don't have water, get water. I mean, start figuring in putting per 40, probably, I'd say 2 water holes per 40. And It could be anything. Try to avoid the kiddie pools because they'll just break on you and crack, and you'll be out there 30, 39, 99, whatever the hell they are.
Plus they look like hell.
Get an actual nice tub. I mean, I don't even care if you guys people get the big Rubbermaid totes, but just make sure there's over 100 gallons. I like the bigger line ponds and natural clay ponds if you can do them, 30-foot diameter, things that way. But start adding the water. Then if you do have bad water, or maybe you have historically this really shitty pond that's just growing, maybe this is the time to get a little 2-inch trash pump it out, and actually dredge that thing out right now.
Yeah.
Get it cleaned out before we get into the EHD time of the year. The other part of it is if your pond's halfway decent, then I would start actually adding bacteria and enzymes like the EHDefense system. Adding pond colorants is another big one that people overlook. All my ponds are dyed.
Yeah.
Every single one has pond colorant in them. So start doing it now, because as it gets hotter, that's when the ponds age very rapidly. So you want to start treating as early as possible. Like, actually, we're ready now, I'd say for most people, a month or two past the schedule of where you should have been starting.
Okay.
So start managing your actual water. If it's a really bad pond, like actually I bring up Lee Likoski. I was on his farm last year. I'll be going down there, I think, in like 2-3 weeks now to recheck on everything. But he had one that was so bad, he lost 290-inch deer in that pond. And
Jesus.
He went to me, he's like, can we treat this EHD fence? I said, absolutely not. There's 3 inches of water and there's 2 feet of muck. Let's take the dam out and clean the whole damn thing out. And so he actually did that. He completely blew his dam out, drained the whole thing, dredged the whole thing, got it back to what it was. Now he has this beautiful pond on his property next to one of his major food plots where he's killed multiple 200s. And so it's kind of one of those things. You got to know when to make that leap. So add water, clean your existing water. If you're not in terrible condition, if you're really bad, completely redo that pond.
Do you know of any government programs to help do that? I know there's some programs that take care of your pond. You can enroll in a bunch of stuff. But is there any government programs that you know of right now? And it can be just for your state, because I know you don't know all the states. They will say, "Hey, this is a problem water source. We need to fix it, and here's some money that's available, or a program."
So the National Fish and Wildlife Service has a lot of programs for that. So when you contact them, they actually have scrape programs where you can actually put in wildlife scrapes. They also have restoration grants. So there are things out there that you can actually get cost sharing on to help fix these. Like even, both our buddy Todd Graff, bowhunting.com, he's restoring a full creek system. And I forgot the dollar amount. It was a crazy amount of dollars just to restore his creek, but they went ahead and they're doing that just to get it back. I don't know if it's a trout stream or not, but if there's viability to restore that system, the Fish and Wildlife Service has multiple programs for that. Now, usually the state-based stuff, there's not usually stuff per state.
Okay.
I haven't found anything great with any of these states, honestly, for those programs, but Fish and Wildlife Service definitely does.
That's good. That's good to know. I know that there's a bunch of programs that construction companies are using with the counties up here to fix some wetlands and some water and some of that stuff. But that's more geared towards...
The other one to look into is the other one is Ducks Unlimited. Look in Ducks Unlimited too. Like we're fortunate. We have those Wisconsin Waterfall Association, which is super powerful here. But they actually do a lot of that work too, or helping permitting, helping do fund projects. And so I would also look in Ducks Unlimited too, because they want to add obviously that ecosystem of water for waterfalls. So if you can get kind of a 2-for-1 benefit of like, yeah, you're adding this for ducks and geese, whatever it might be, but it's benefiting your deer too. So that'd be another avenue to look down is Ducks Unlimited.
Yeah, and I bring that up because, like the things you just talked about, adding a 100-gallon water tank to your property, not that big of an investment. Blowing out a dam and dredging out a pond, shit, that could be some serious money, especially here in Northeast Ohio, where the cost of trade work is outrageously expensive. So if you don't have your own, decent tractor with a scraper blade or a bulldozer, not many people do unless you're big farm or construction, that's going to cost a lot of money to do, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I'll say too, for people that have like smaller wildlife ponds too, a cost of renting a mini is nothing. It's like $350 for a day.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing too, is I think people don't realize sometimes how actually I think it's affordable and cheap in my opinion. Okay, you have a mini for a day for $350, you can do a lot of work with that mini in a day.
Yeah.
So that's another thing too people need to look at is like, I mean, shit, I can usually do 4 25 to 30 foot diameter line ponds in a day with a mini. Or like one property I did 6 earth ponds and 3 line ponds in a day.
Okay.
And so you can do some work just by renting that mini from your local equipment place.
And I know Home Depot sells those shovels with the holes in them for like $52. That's going to be a lot of manual labor, but they do sell those slotted shovels that you can use to pull your leaves out.
And I will say, like, the earth ponds are nice. They're expensive. That's the only thing I hate about them. They're really pricey. But like I hand dug a bunch of those in last year because I think the biggest one's only 13 inches deep. Yeah. So it's not a lot of topsoil moving, really.
Right. We've had good luck. Our area has heavy clay soil, especially if you start getting down a little bit. So I've had good luck with just a scraper blade on the back of a tractor, back and forth, back and forth.
We dig a hole and it turns into a water hole.
Yeah, we can hold water pretty good here. My one last year, we didn't hunt it much because it's not set up very well for hunting. It's kind of on the edge of an open field and there's properties all around. But the nocturnal trail camera activity, I put a little mock scrape, like tree koi type mock scrape, right next to this watering hole. Every mature buck within a mile hit it at some point, and a lot of them were hitting it almost nightly. Nothing we could hunt, but it was good inventory. That watering hole was created just by scraping. The only problem is in the springtime, like right now, and I'm gonna go down there and check it today actually because I haven't put my eyes on it since turkey season. That watering hole, it overflows in the spring and spreads across the whole food plot. It ends up being 100 by 100 when it's super wet. But then fall comes and it shrinks back down to very small. So I haven't been able to keep a really good stand of clover or anything around it because it drowns it out in March and April. But I got to go in there and we'll put a fall plot in again and add a tree koi just to watch it.
And I was thinking about this. I mean, I know it's kind of backtracking in the podcast, but the other thing too, I want to tell people to do, like with the EHD side of it, is when you are building these ponds, is build birdhouses and bat houses. That's another biggie. I mean, like when I was doing research on bats, they can eat anywhere from 6,000 to 8,000 midge a night.
Jeez,
wow.
Yeah, but
that'll solve your problem right there.
And so it's so easy. I forgot how many bat houses it was. I think it was like per 40 acres, it was like 3 bat houses or something. But you just got to put them near water.
Yeah.
But you think, okay, deer are crepuscular, so they're moving at dawn and dusk. Well, midge are most active usually at dusk, kind of like mosquitoes. And then also what's most active at dusk is bats.
Yeah.
So literally that's the other thing too, is build birdhouses and bat houses. And that alone can actually help curtail that issue too. So just like I said, I wanted to backtrack on that, but I was just thinking about it. But that's that holistic approach of something simple, especially if you have kids and you want to show them some carpentry, get some wood from your local hardware store and build some birdhouses and bat houses. It's not that difficult.
I mean, Dad, how many birdhouses do you think Dad's put on the farm?
Hundreds.
Literally hundreds. But every single one just has a blackbird in it or a sparrow.
Well,
what's the invasive one?
His newest ones are bluebird houses, and I think there actually is bluebirds in some of them.
Well, that's good. What's that?
And bluebirds are good, and swallows. And those are 2 of the best birds.
We have a lot of swallows, a lot of starlings.
We do have the swallow house. So the swallow houses are the community ones, right? Like 6 holes across, and there's like 4 or 5 deep.
Yeah, big colonies.
I actually have one at my new house, and there's one there's actually one by the pond on the north side. So we have a couple of the swallow houses. What's that bird that ends up getting in every single one of the starlings? Like that brownish
Yep.
English starlings.
English starlings. Yeah.
Starling grackles. Yep.
We've done the wood duck houses in the ponds before. Those are kind of cool, but they end up getting top heavy because of the weight of them, and as they slowly like sink down and fall over after.
Then they become a fish
Yep.
habitat.
Yeah, then become right exactly.
Yeah. A minnow house.
No, but the bat houses, that's a good little pro tip. I'm not opposed to having bat houses around.
We do have
heck no.
a lot of bats around here. I don't know if everywhere is like this, but in the evening, if you're sitting outside, you'll see bats every night around here.
Yeah, and honestly, that might be one of those things too. Like, depending where you guys are at, like that can honestly play a big factor in of areas that get hit worse or not. Is you have those master predator species again. That's the biggest thing I'm trying to tell people is like get this food chain fixed. That's why there's so many damn midge. Because like when you think about it, like when you mow lawn, the birds are just everywhere, right? Because they're eating all the insects that you just took their home away from.
Yep.
Same thing goes with these ponds. Those birds are going to be hunting them hard. Same with the bats. So birdhouse and bat houses is a little bit of effort, not a lot of money, and you can make a big impact. Like I said, 6,000 to 8,000 midge a night. That's a huge impact.
Well, that brings up a good point. That's the first time I've actually heard that, because our township within our county right now that we live in, the township has more ponds per acre than any other township in Ohio. It's because of the way we were an agriculture community and we didn't have hydrants for the longest time. So every farmer and every property, for insurance reasons, put in a half-acre pond.
Plus, they use it for watering.
Yeah, a lot of people are using it actually for their water source instead of digging a well. They were doing filtered pond water. Sure. That happened in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Every property just has a pond on it, and maybe that has contributed. Maybe that's why we're lucky in our county right here, or our township, that we haven't had an outbreak, because we have so many of those creatures that live, in those environments. Perfect segue. Pond maintenance. We wanted to talk about it a little bit. We beat EHD to death. That weed that I sent you, and I can try and show a video on the podcast. That weed that I sent you that's on my pond. What is that?
That's filamentous algae.
And how do I kill it?
So with algae alone, so you want a copper algicide. I will say do not use copper sulfate. So that's going to be the cheapest and easiest thing to get is copper sulfate, but it actually kills your aquatic system. It'll kill frogs, tadpoles, most of your invertebrates.
Yeah, I don't want to do any of that.
Yeah, so stay away from that. And a lot of people, that's what they think to use, but don't ever use copper sulfate. I mean, there's a reason. Like we're one of the only states that as commercial applicator, it is banned from usage on any of our treatment permits. We can't use it.
Okay.
And for a good reason. So
a lot of people have told me to use copper sulfate.
Yeah, absolutely not. Like I could go up to a pond that was treated 10 years ago or a year ago with copper sulfate, and I know if it's been treated with it. I can see the copper still laying on the mud and all that, so it's not good. There's a built up residual with it. It's kind of like the old like simazine and atrazine and all that stuff that builds up residual in the soils. We don't want to do that. So there's chelated coppers. So the difference is copper sulfate will stay in your soils. Chelated coppers will actually evaporate naturally within the ecosystem. So there's things like, so the main one I always use, I should say there's two, Captain XTR and Q-Trine Ultra. Those are the two copper algicides we use day in, day out.
Okay.
So like for that algae, I would usually use a combination of Captain XTR, and then I would use a little bit of diquat. So diquat, the trade names are either Reward or Tribune are very common. But I add those two together, and then I actually add a little bit of the enzyme. So like the enzyme that's found in EHDefense catapult, I actually mix that in as well as a sticker, and plus it helps break down things quickly. But it doesn't take long. Like, so how big, you said 3/4 of an acre?
Yeah, it's not a full acre, but it's bigger than half an acre. So it's in between somewhere in there.
Yeah, so like something like that, and obviously there's big calculations on it. It's 0.6 gallons per acre foot, blah, 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 blah. But that's to say it's 3/4 of an acre. I'd probably be doing about a 2.5 gallon jug of Captain XTR, maybe about a half gallon of diquat, and then mix in probably a gallon of enzyme. And I'd go around and cover all that algae and get it to the bottom. Now, one thing I will say is if like you have a pond and it's full coverage, split your treatment up. So if you have 100% coverage of algae, try to treat it in thirds. Treat 1/3, wait 5 to 7 days, treat the next third, and so on and so forth, just so you don't kill the fish and things that way and strip the oxygen out.
I'm probably
if
only
it's a ring of
algae. I'm only probably like 10, 15, 20% coverage. It blows all to one side. And, I'm not completely covered by any means.
So you could do one treatment and knock it all out.
Okay.
And now I will say algae, usually you're treating 1 to 3 times a year. Plants, if the plants are showing underneath the algae, that's usually once a year. But the other big, so once you treat, the big thing about this is as you treat, all that algae dies, plants die, they go to the bottom, all that nutrients gets recycled. So if you only treat, it's a Band-Aid approach. So what you want to do is actually 2 weeks post-treatment is add bacteria and enzymes, and that starts stripping all of that phosphorus and getting rid of the nitrogen that fuels that next algae bloom. So it's a combination of doing algicides and herbicides, 2 weeks doing proactive actual green things like bacteria and enzymes. The other part of it is making sure your pond is dyed. So adding a good dark dye. Like don't be scared to make the thing so dark blue that it looks black.
Yeah.
I've
already added an entire bottle into my pond this spring.
Perfect. and stay on top of it, right? So like droughts actually will strip a lot of, it sounds weird, but drought will actually strip a lot of your dye out because a lot of it leaches into the soil.
Okay.
But it also lacks amount of rain.
Yeah.
Yep. So then stay on top of the dyes, which is, I always call it the cheapest, most effective management tool there is pond coloring. But then, like I said, so it's a combination of algicides, herbicides, bacteria and enzymes, and it's just getting that cycle. Like, ponds I used to manage, some ponds I had to treat once or twice a year. Some ponds I was treating 3-4 times a year. Some of them I was there bi-weekly because the ponds were so shitty, and usually those are stormwater ponds.
Yeah.
But with that said, what you have going on with that algae, you'll find that you'll treat it 3 to 5 days, all that algae will be gone. It'll literally knock out, go to the bottom. And that's where, like I said, you want to get the bacteria and enzymes in on it.
Perfect. I'm going. Like, obviously, we have that recorded, but I'm gonna text you and get the base rundown so I can buy exactly all that stuff. Because my pond has no chemical runoff. My yard, my backyard, and my woods, which is just basically just a big green pasture that I don't treat, is the only thing that runs off into it. But it does get direct sunlight all day. I mean, that sun comes up. The trees are all on the north side of it, so it gets full sunlight throughout the entire day. I have a windmill with a bubbler, so when the windmill's going, it's bubbling in the middle, which is good, but it's not constant. I don't have an
and I will say, if you have power nearby the pond, an electrical aeration system is bar none the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say that's one of the main tools everyone should be using in their ponds is aeration. It's going to make that pond healthier. What you're doing is, let's say your pond's 3/4 acre. Let's say it's on average depth 6 feet, but max is 12. Let's say, well, about 6 to 8 feet of that water is unusable by fish and amphibians, reptiles, you name it, because there's no oxygen below what's called a thermocline.
Yep.
So aeration breaks that up and makes the whole pond livable. So you get that, and plus that'll actually kick up all of the bacteria that's in the sediments. It'll give them more oxygen so they can work harder, get rid of the sludge, the nutrients, things of that nature. So aeration is a big key component as well.
Gotcha. I do believe I have electricity close. I'm going to have to do a little bit more research on that because there's a pump for the barn that goes into it. So I'm sure there's electricity close. But the bubbler, that windmill does seem to help a little bit. We're pretty windy, not super windy here in Northeast Ohio, but every day that thing's turning and there's bubbles in the middle. So I'm getting a little bit of that. And I know our audience, sorry to interrupt you. I know our audience has
listening.
Go ahead.
And anyone listening to this, honestly, it's like if you have a pond and you have those issues, reach out to me because I can literally tell you per gallon everything you need to use. I mean, it's like I said, it was, I think on average I was doing 1,500 to 2,000 treatments a year just based on all of the clients we had. And so if you have any kind of plant or algae, I can identify and tell you exactly what product to use.
Yeah.
Or if you're looking to put air in, I can help you decide how many diffusers you need in that pond. So don't hesitate because it is one of those things. There's a lot of, like everything, there's a lot of bad information out there, but it also can get super complicated. Like I'm sure even what I was saying, you guys are probably like, holy shit, there's a lot to this.
That's why I'm going to have you text it to me.
But honestly, any of your listeners reach out, or whether they're reaching out to you guys or whatever, but I'd rather give the right tools to be successful because all the stuff you buy at these hardware stores, these tractor supplies, all that, most of the products are shit. Like even the dyes, they're way watered down compared to what I use commercially.
Yeah.
So you're going to spend way more money for a result that I could do probably in a quarter of what that product is.
Yeah.
So kind of really be cautious about that stuff that either is on Amazon or it's on these hardware stores. A lot of times they're really crappy products that aren't used by commercial applicators.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to bring up when you were what I kept interrupting you there is the audience, our audience. I know there's a lot of guys that have ponds locally here. There's a lot of guys that listen that have ponds that they try to keep nice, and so I did want to get in there and touch on that because it is kind of a big deal for people locally to make sure that the water in their actual ponds is good. Fish wise, I have bluegill, largemouth bass, one giant orange koi carp, and two white triploid amber grass carp, whatever you want to call them. Yep. The owner told me there was catfish in there, and I love catfishing, and I haven't done a lot of catfishing in there, but I haven't seen any. And I know our farm ponds here at the farm, we have catfish, and I'll still see them. They like to hide underneath the dock in the shade and stuff. So I don't think I have any catfish in that pond, so I'm going to have to add some. But is there anything special you would add, in your opinion, to keep the wildlife ecosystem perfect? Anything extra that isn't known or?
Biggest thing I'd say, like, for one, you have that koi in there. Don't be surprised if that koi dies when you treat it with copper. Ugh. They're very sensitive to copper. Grass carp, I think they're way over exaggerated of how powerful they are. They don't eat that much weeds and algae as people think they do. But I would say the biggest thing is really monitoring your fish population, especially your bass, because your bass will hunt down that pond like wolves, to the point where all you have left is these 8 to 12 inch bass.
So that's currently all that I have in there is 8 to 12 inch bass. Lots of them.
So actually harvesting them, like whether you're ice fishing or now, thin them out. Definitely thin out your bass. And that'll help your bluegills. It'll help if you have crappie in there. One thing I'll say, if people want to get into perch, if perch aren't added day one of a new pond, usually the only time you'll see your perch stocked when you have largemouth bass in there is the day they go in, because the bass will eat every single one of them. They're literally the Snicker bar of the pond.
Gotcha.
So, but other than that, like fish-wise, fathead minnows are really good. I mean, there's been some studies that fathead minnows will eat some algae and things that way, but it just helps sustain the fishery food, because unlike a lake where it can self-manage itself, a pond can't. It will not manage itself for food. So adding spring and fall, doing actual fathead minnow stockings is very beneficial. And I know in Ohio, there's multiple pond management companies that do fish stocking.
Yep.
Like actually the company I worked with before I left, Jones Lakes Management. I know they're in Ohio.
I have a poster from them on my phone right now that a buddy sent me 2 hours ago.
Yep. So they do massive amounts. Like actually they got into the game by doing fish stockings. But even like companies like that, they have all these products as well, the algicides, herbicides you can buy them from, and then you're getting it from the right place and from commercial applicators.
Right. I think I am going to add the crappie, a few crappie here and there. I'm not. I could care less about the perch. I've seen a lot,
and I'll say with your crappie, when you do stock, I always try to get 2 to 3 age classes in there. So you could do like 3 to 5s, 5 to 7s, and then maybe some bigger ones. But it just helps the age structure. I mean, in a way, it's like you're managing the water like you do deer. Like you want a proper age structure, because if you have too much of one structure, one age, they just stunt themselves at that age.
Right. That's what's happening with my bass right now. I do know I need to take some out. How do you feel about like the hybrid bluegill / red ears as opposed to just actual pure regular bluegill?
So I really do love hybrids, just because you are able to maintain that population so they don't get out of control. Whereas regular bluegill and all that, if they don't have a good predator, they'll take off and stunt your whole pond. So we did a lot of hybrids, because usually the stock rate's 500 hybrid bluegills per acre. And what I like about it, it's a finite number. I mean, you know how many are in there. Let's say it's 350 bluegills. That's how many got put in. And now there's a small amount that does reproduce. About 2 to 3% reproduces. And they revert back to actually one of their parent genes, which is the green sunfish, or people sometimes call them warmouth, but it's green sunfish. Those are the ones that bite you when you swim. Those are the little bastards that'll find every hair on your body.
Right.
So that's one thing to know, is if you do hybrids, make sure there's a good predator system within there.
I'm not a big fan of those. I'm not a big fan of those green sunfish. Any ponds around here that had them stocked accidentally or put in, they just, they're. I know you can't see me in the screen, but they're 3-4 inches long, 5 inches long, big mouth. Yep. Ththey pretty, but they don't grow as big as bluegill, and they're kind of a bitch.
They bite your nipples off.
And they bite the fuck out of your.
And I will say, if you stock the bigger largemouth, so like usually places are stocking bass, like the largest you can get is a 10-inch plus stocking, and usually they range from 10 to like 14-inch bass. one season, they'll clean all those green sunfish up.
Okay.
It does not take them long.
Okay.
I mean, like I had that issue where we had a fish killed and I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to get rid of these green sunfish? We added a bunch of big largemouth bass in, like 10. I think the biggest one that got stocked that time was like 16 inches, which was a win for me.
Yeah.
But one summer, that's all it took. And my green sunfish were pretty much gone.
Do you like the channel catfish?
Channel cats are cool as long as you just don't overstock them. You can get some awesome big cats. And what's nice is they're a good fish to have if you're doing regular bluegills because they will prey on those regular bluegills.
Are you a fan of the supplemental feeding? A lot of people here in Ohio supplemental feed, and what I've noticed about that is the fish grow big fast with that supplemental feeding.
So I do like it. It's one of those things you got to make sure you are on a pattern and a routine with it. Like don't miss feedings and all that kind of stuff.
Because they'll get dependent on it.
Right. And also the big part of that too is, let's say these fish, a lot of times, some are pellet trained, some are not pellet trained from fish hatcheries. So if you have fish that are not trained on pellets, it takes a long time for them to actually start figuring out that that's their food. And every time you're throwing these pellets in there, you're actually fertilizing your water.
Correct.
You're
Yeah.
putting high rates of nutrients in there.
So
just know, like, you don't want to overdo it. Stay light. Or just have it like as the random fun thing you do where once in a while you feed them. But I would rather focus more on your main feeding system being your fathead minnows spring and fall.
Yeah. I had our one neighbor guy that used to hunt by us, and he ended up selling his property. He sold to some people we know, actually. I'll keep their names out of it just because they probably don't know that they bought it. But he had it wasn't even smaller than my pond. It was probably only like half an acre. He stocked perch, crappie, regular bluegills, channel cats, largemouth bass, and he fed every day heavy. He had catfish in there, channel cats that were only like 7 or 8 years old. And I watched him the day before he left his house. He was pulling them out, and they were actually flaying them up to eat them because he's like, I spent all this money on them. I'm going to at least get some food out of it. The one catfish was like 19 pounds. It was huge.
Yeah.
It was fucking. I thought it was a male because it was so dark. But when he slit that thing open, it was dark with a biggerish head, so it looked kind of like a male to me. He slit that thing open, it was full of eggs, and it was huge. 19-pound channel catfish. That's insane.
And honestly, when you're doing real fishery management, the make or break between standard fish and trophy fish is feeding.
Yeah.
And like, so for instance, like I had clients that they didn't want to spend the money on minnows or a feed program, and they were getting 16-inch bass, maybe a 10-inch crappie, 8-inch perch, 7-inch bluegill. But then I have my clients that were on a religious feeding program. I mean, the one pond I actually did a tree planting for him. He had 17-inch crappie in there. I've had ponds that have had 12-inch gills that were well over 2 pounds. I've had some monster largemouths. I mean, tiger muskies, walleyes. I mean, the guys that do the feeding, you can have trophy fish in a heartbeat.
I've heard of people, and I think it's in Wisconsin, actually. I've seen some things on social media a little bit. Guys are putting paddlefish in their ponds. Have you seen anything like that? Like baby paddlefish? I don't know how they're getting them or what that's all about, but I've seen some things.
Because you can't, like in our state, you can't stock any of those fish. So I think a little bit of
it was somewhere western, though. It wasn't Ohio. We don't even have them here, barely.
And there's a lot of that where people are also taking from the rivers and putting them in their ponds.
That sounds shitty.
Which is highly illegal.
Yeah.
But with that said, I mean, and there too, like there's also a cool thing with fish. People are like, oh, I've had this pond. I don't know how these fish got in here. Well, ducks and geese bring in all those fish eggs.
Right.
So like I had a line pond only meant for swimming ever, never a fish stocked into it. And they were starting to get bit. So we actually had to get a permit, and we did a rotenone treatment to kill all the fish in this pond. In that pond, we pulled out, and there were nothing big, but it was pike, muskie. We had a couple bowfin. I mean, there's crappie, there's perch. I mean, you name the species that was damn near in this pond. And this pond wasn't even a quarter acre. And it's just from literally waterfall coming in there with the eggs on their feet. And that's how those fish got put in there. So you never really know what's in your pond based on that.
We always had it when we were kids. There was always a rumor that our one uncle's pond here on the property had a pike in it because we felt like we saw it once. Yeah, we saw it one time. I saw this pike, but no one ever ended up catching it. And we never really had any true evidence that there was a pike in there.
Maybe there was,
and that's another fish too. Never stocking your pond is a northern pike
because it'll eat everything, right? It'll just fuck the whole place up.
It's bad. I mean, they are the hungriest creature ever. I mean, they'll destroy that pond in a season or two, and all you'll have is these little hammer handle pike. So like if you want that bigger predator fish like that, then go with tiger muskie because then they can't reproduce and they can get 40 plus inches.
Yeah, muskies are kind of they're we have some really, really famous muskie fisheries around us, but that's it for the muskies. You know, there's not a ton of them outside of I think they're in Salt Fork, but what's the big one? Leesville Lake and stuff, and then obviously Lake Erie. Kyle caught one on Lake Erie a couple weeks ago. Our buddy actually caught one up on Lake Erie on accident. But how do you feel about snapping turtles?
I mean, so snappers will eat fish. You know, will they destroy a fishery? No. I mean, I think people when I see people shooting them and killing them, I'm like, I don't know why really do, because it's not making that big of an impact. They really aren't. They're eating some fish, sure, but they're not like, oh, and I lost all my fish. Not like an otter. Yeah, an otter will clean you out in one winter. Yep, easily.
So I knew I liked you for a reason because I never kill snapping turtles ever. I think I think this animal that's 50 years old deserves a little bit more respect than getting shot in the back of the head because you think he's eating all your fish. He eats one bluegill every 3 days. You know what I mean?
I would go up to not that I had it a lot happen, but I have had it a couple times where I've gone to a client's property and they're in a 5-gallon bucket. It's a snapper they just shot with the 22. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Like leave the damn thing alone. Like it's not hurting you. I mean, sure. Now, like I was swimming in my family pond one time. It's an acre in size, and a big ass snapper head popped up like 5 feet from me. Did I get the hell out of that pond? Yes, really quick because it's like holy shit.
I've been swimming in ponds.
It's not going to destroy your damn fishery.
I learned how to swim in ponds. I've been swimming in ponds since I was probably 3 years old. I swim in every pond I've ever found. Like I love ponds. I don't care. I've had leeches covering my body because the ponds I swim in are no good. I've never been bit by a snapping turtle. So if I haven't been bit by a snapping turtle, I've never heard of
anybody getting bit.
No one's getting bit by it. You could kick that thing as it's swimming and it ain't going to bite you.
No.
You'd literally have to pin it to the ground and stick your finger in its mouth in order to get bit.
Well, and that's the thing. What people don't realize is like when a snapper is feeding underwater, it has to shut off its air hole, so it can't just like swim around and bite and feed and all that stuff. It has to literally stop breathing to feed.
Right.
So it's not going to just.
And they're ambush predators.
No, I will say. Last year in my pond, like we have a few bullheads, so I actually stocked more bass. So clean up the bullhead.
Bullheads are boo.
But I had a bullhead bite me last year, and it shook my foot like a dog. I was like, what? Like I was like, what the hell is that? I look at the mark. There's a damn bullhead. So that a bullhead will bite you first. A snapper ain't gonna bite.
I'd be more worried about stepping on a bullhead because the spines on the back of a bullhead. Holy shit, does that hurt? We have the nipple biting bluegill. Yeah, we're cursed by that. They'll get your nipples.
See, and that's the thing. And the best way to get rid of them is bigger bass.
Yeah, all our ponds fall in the same trap where the bass gets stunted. We don't kill enough. We're like the guys that don't shoot does when it comes to fishing. We need to take more bass. Seriously, we need to take more bass out because we don't kill any, and our catfish end up getting all real skinny, and the bass get real skinny, and they're only a foot long.
And what people don't realize is if you go ice fishing for largemouth, they taste great in the winter. Like their meat firms up and everything.
We used to eat them when we were younger.
Yeah, it's not a we don't like it thing. We're just lazy, as spending all your time deer hunting and trying to work on your pond, and you do a little bit of fishing, you jump in to cool off, and like you just don't harvest bass and make an effort to actually eat and take as many out as you could because you don't want to throw them in the weeds. And
and I will say the rule of thumb too is if you're fishing and you're catching a fish every cast, they're starving.
Yeah,
that's the other thing too.
Yep. And that's my new pond. I take my daughter out every day. I have a white jig on my St. Croix, and I flip it out there, and I catch 6 bass under 12 inches on 6 casts, and she has a lot of fun, and then we're done. And that's not necessarily good, So I need, here in Northeast Ohio, a lot of people will transplant fish from body of water to body of water. Like, hey, I need to stock my pond, so can I come catch some bass? I know I'm not going to give out names, but I know that's probably illegal.
Legalities?
Yeah, I think that's probably illegal, but I know a lot of guys do that kind of thing because they don't want to spend the money on bass. But we can't sit here and promote moving fish in that way. I know that's probably not right. Because if there's any kind of disease, you're going to introduce it to that new pond instantly.
Right. Absolutely. That's actually why we can't do so in our state of Wisconsin, we can't have triploid grass carp, and that's because of the Asian carp issue in Illinois.
Yeah.
But then also the transferring from lake to lake, there's the VHS disease as well. So you don't know what diseases you're bringing into your water when you're doing that. So it's safer to get them from an actual licensed and certified fish hatchery.
Yeah. We have a couple state funded lakes around us, and the triploid grass carp thing's weird. There's periods of time where they push it right? So do not harvest. We're stocking these grass carp. Please leave them be if you catch them. We'll put, we're putting in 100 per acre or whatever, some crazy number, right? And then, they all get matured out, and then they take down the signs, and all of a sudden
People start bow fishing.
you got guys in there bow hunting them because they're 4 feet long and they weigh 50 fucking pounds and they're massive, right?
Right.
Kill them all, and then they'll restart it again. All of a sudden they'll stock a whole bunch, and I think it's done calculated. They say they don't breed those grass carp. They say they don't breed in the wild, right? But like in some places they got to be breeding if a population is remaining for so long. Like I know they live 16 to 18-ish years. All the ones we've ever stocked in our private ponds here, they all seem to die before the 20-year mark. All of a sudden, there's just none left. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they're getting into the rivers. Those ones got to be doing some kind of breeding or something, right? I mean, theoretically, I guess no.
Yeah, most of your hybrid fish, there is still a level of reproduction that does occur in a very small percentage. So there's always that chance for sure.
It's like the common carp. It's kind of hard to think about 1876 is when they got introduced.
It's a naturalized species.
And it took over every waterway in the continental United States in 100 years. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Well, Zach, I did not let you talk about your hunting season. Well, we're an hour 20 in, and for the third straight time, I did not allow us to have a bullshit session. So I guess I'm going to have to get you on again this fall to just bullshit and talk about bush light and deer hunting and the Packers and shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I'm looking forward to this fall. I lucked out big time. So I went to Kansas last year, passed on some good deer, but my outfitter, he's like, why don't you just try again? So I put in, and without a point, I got my early season muzzleloader tag down there. So
okay.
I'm pretty damn stoked for that.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah, it does.
What is Wisconsin? How many bucks are you guys allowed to take there?
2. So
2.
we can get one with their bow, one with their gun, but then you can also party hunt as well. So
okay, yeah, I've seen that on the videos, like people group hunting together.
Yeah, that's the one. That's probably the biggest thing that I don't like in our state is the party hunting, because literally, like, my one neighbor shot 33 times opening weekend.
Whew.
So they're just filling everyone's tags. They don't give a shit what they're shooting at. So that's the one thing I wish would go away, but by us. But yeah, so we can shoot one buck with our bow, one with our gun, which, I mean, I look at it different ways. Like, would I like what Michigan's doing with one buck, maybe in some counties, but it's one of those tough things. I just rather see this party hunting and driving and stuff go away. That's the shit that pisses me off. I'm sick of finding dead deer gut shot because no one cares.
So what is that? Where there's a group of 10 people that can shoot $10? It doesn't matter who shoots them, basically.
Absolutely.
Oh my god.
That would be.
And we thought we had it bad in Ohio.
Yeah, we got the one buck here in Ohio, but a certain population, maybe the Amish.
There is people that party hunt here illegally.
Yeah,
but
they drive.
Yeah,
our public lands have gone way down in some areas, just in the late fall, because once gun season comes, you got the groups of 20 guys driving and pushing, and it's culture and it's fun, and that's why it still exists in Wisconsin and all that. But from our perspective, the whole land management thing, trying to get a good age class and older bucks and blah 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 blah, it's really bad to have people come in and just mow down every single deer in the neighborhood. Oh,
because these guys are also like, they'll shoot a buck and you know what they're doing. They're killing it without knowing. Then they're making the phone call. Hey, do you have a buck tag? So it's,
right. Or it's not big enough for them, so they just leave it.
Yeah, they find someone with a buck.
I get in a lot of trouble for calling hunters dirtbags online and on these podcasts. it's true though. How many guys we all know that just pile of dirtbags that make us look bad? It's unfortunate.
Right. And yeah, because that's the vast majority that goes to the anti-hunters that makes us have the bad name. Absolutely.
Yeah, the guys doing the right thing are never going to be a poster for anything.
Nope.
So it's only the bad ones, and unfortunately, there are a lot of bad ones. Anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
No, that kind of does it. Yeah, hopefully next time we do our bullshit session.
Let's get closer to deer season and talk about deer hunting.
I'll make you an offer. We'll get you on the podcast again soon, sometime this summer, some fall, whenever. Even better if you're in the area. So if you're ever in Northeast Ohio for a client job, let us know and we'll just swing by and try to do one. But the next time we do one, we'll make a rule. We're not allowed to utter EHD or CWD one time. We just won't talk about those two things.
Except we'll be calling them this fall if it's hitting this year.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
That's
right.
True. Well, I appreciate you coming on
guys.
this Saturday afternoon, right in the middle of the day. I know it's a heavy workload time, but we very much appreciate it.
I don't mind it. Like I said, I'm in air conditioning right now, and I don't want to go out there and we're the devil's just killing everything outside right now.
We're not, and it's starting to get hot.
It's going to get humid here because it rained this morning, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think that's the worst thing. Like I went to Menards to get stone and stuff like that for some landscape I'm working on, and just pushing the cart, like I'm dripping sweat. Like this is bullshit.
2 t-shirt job just going to the store.
And the whole time my kids were like, "Can I ride on top of the cart?" No.
Too much weight.
Going to the grocery store with kids, let me tell you. Well, all right, Zach, we appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Deer Shot Podcast, episode 141.
141.
We are out. Boom.